All right, today we are cutting right through all the noise, all the hype in the fitness world. We're going to give you a super clear, science-backed guide to building muscle. And we're diving straight into the foundational research of one of the world's top experts on this stuff, Dr. Brad Schoenfeld. So let's just get right into it. If you've ever been in a gym or even just scrolled through Instagram, you know you've been hit with a million different pieces of advice on how to get bigger, how to get stronger, lift heavy, no, lift light. Train to failure. Don't you dare train to failure. It's honestly overwhelming. But what does the actual science have to say? What are the real core principles that make your muscles grow no matter what program you're on? Okay, first, the sciencey term for building muscle is hypertrophy. And as you can see here, it's not as simple as your muscle fibers just puffing up. It's a really complex process. The parts that actually contract and do the work, they get bigger, for sure, but the whole support structure around them grows too. Think of it like you're not just expanding a factory, you're also building bigger roads and infrastructure to support that bigger, better factory. Now, here's where it gets really, really interesting. Decades of research have basically boiled this whole complicated thing down to three main drivers. Just three primary signals that scream at your body, hey, we need to build bigger, stronger muscles right here. So let's break them down. First up, and this is the big one, is mechanical tension. This is literally just the force your muscles feel when you're lifting a weight. Your muscle fibers, they have these amazing little sensors. They're called mechanosensors. And their whole job is to detect this tension. And when that force is big enough, these sensors start a whole chain reaction of chemical signals that directly tell the muscle, okay, time to grow. This is exactly why progressive overload, lifting a little more weight or doing more reps over time, is the absolute foundation of any good strength program. Next up, we have metabolic stress. I guarantee you felt this. You know that deep burn you get during a really high rep set, or that awesome pump where your muscles just feel super full and tight? Yeah, that's it. That's metabolic stress. It's caused by a buildup of these byproducts, like lactate, when you're working really hard. And that chemical environment itself is another powerful, powerful signal for your muscles to adapt and grow. And the third driver, muscle damage. This is pretty much why you feel sore after you try a new workout or have a really tough leg day. You've created these tiny microscopic tears in your muscle fibers. Now, that sounds kind of bad, right? But it's actually an amazing signal for growth. Your body responds with this little inflammatory process to not just fix the damage, but to rebuild those fibers even bigger and tougher so they can handle that kind of stress in the future. So, okay, we've got these three scientific drivers for growth. Fantastic. But what does that actually mean for us in the gym? How do we take these principles and turn them into practice? How do we make sure our training is actually hitting all three of these signals? Well, this chart lays it out beautifully. To really crank up that mechanical tension, heavy lifting, in those lower rep ranges, think 1 to 5 reps, is king. For metabolic stress, you want to think more like classic bodybuilding. Higher reps, shorter rest periods, really chasing that pump and burn. And for muscle damage, just introducing new exercises or really focusing on a full range of motion, especially that deep stretch part of a lift. That's what creates the new stimulus the body needs to repair. This is exactly why a good, well-rounded program is going to have a mix of different rep ranges. Now this is a game-changing point. Seriously. While lifting heavy is awesome for creating tension, it is not the only way to grow. The single most important factor for getting the maximum number of muscle fibers involved, we're talking about the endurance fibers and those big, powerful, fast-twitch ones, is simply the level of effort you put in. And this quote from Dr. Schoenfeld just sums it up perfectly. When you take a set with lighter weight all the way, or at least very close to muscular failure, where you feel like you only have 1 or 2 reps left in the tank, your body is forced to recruit every single available muscle fiber just to keep that weight moving. This is how both heavy training and light training can be unbelievably effective for building muscle. The common thread isn't the weight on the bar, it's how hard you're pushing. It's all about that high level of effort. Of course, training is only half the battle, right? It's the stimulus, it's the signal to grow. But the actual growth, the building of new muscle, that happens when you're resting and recovering. And that whole process is fueled 100% by what you eat. The nutrition side of things really stands on 3 main pillars. First, you need a small caloric surplus. Building new stuff takes energy, right? So you need to eat a little more than you burn. Second, you absolutely have to get enough protein. Those are the raw building blocks. And third, you need enough carbs to actually fuel your workouts and then restock your muscles' energy stores, which is called glycogen. Let's just zoom in on protein for a second, because it is, without a doubt, the most critical piece of this whole puzzle. It's simple. You can't build a brick house without bricks, and you cannot build new muscle tissue without the amino acids you get from protein. It's just not possible. So, how much do you actually need? Well, all the evidence points to this range right here, 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight every single day. And yeah, that's a lot higher than the recommendation for someone who doesn't work out, because your body's demand for those building blocks is just way, way higher. But it's not just about the total at the end of the day. How you spread that protein out really matters. By splitting your intake across at least 4 meals, with each meal having around this much protein, you help keep the muscle-building process, called muscle protein synthesis, switched on throughout the day. You're creating this constant environment for growth. Okay, we've covered the science of the stimulus, we've covered the basics of fueling. Now let's put it all together. Let's make a simple, actionable blueprint for you to build muscle. Here it is. Step 1, stimulate. You've got to train with high effort, using a mix of rep ranges to make sure you're hitting mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage. Step 2, fuel. Eat in that slight calorie surplus and hit your protein target every day. Step 3, recover. Sleep is not optional. It's when the magic actually happens. And finally, number 4, and this might be the most important, be consistent. Building muscle is a slow process. You have to stick with these principles over time, and I promise you, you will see results. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you really understand the why behind muscle growth, you know about the 3 core drivers, you know the crucial role of effort and nutrition, how is this going to change the way you look at your own training? What's maybe one small thing you can change, starting today, to get more in line with these scientific principles?